Hi, I'm Lis McDermott. I'm an author, a poet and a writing mentor. When I'm mentoring, I help other people to get their words out of their heads onto paper. I'm a multi-genre author, but last year I wrote my first novel and this year my second one's coming out on the 1st of May. My latest book is called Echoes of Drowning. The inspiration for Echoes of Drowning is actually a family tragedy. My great uncle Will and his wife Amy were travelling back from America on the Lusitania in 1915. It was a passenger ship, but when it got round to came along underneath, around the bottom of the island, it was torpedoed by a U-boat. And it sank very quickly, far more quickly than they expected it to. And they lost a lot of people whose bodies were never found. My Uncle Will died, and yet his wife Amy lived, and she lived till the late 1950s, and she lived by the sea so she could look out over the Irish Sea where her husband had perished. And over the years I was told this story by my mother, who actually had a fear of water and going on boats. And I've always held on to that story, and I just thought that enduring love that she must have felt, to have wanted to be there. She never remarried, she didn't ever have anybody else, that was it. So yes, I wanted to write about that, so that was my inspiration. Well, as I've just mentioned, the main characters are Will and Amy, but also I have two other characters. I'm not a historian, so I didn't want to write a book set in the time when the boat sank. I also didn't want to write about the actual boat. So I've created my own place, my own boat, everything. And my boat is called the Elysiana, and it still goes down. It still is sunk by U-boat, but it's sunk off the Welsh coast, which is actually the same shipping lane as where the actual other boat went down. But it's set in 2018, and a father and daughter called Jess and Danny moved to this little village in Wales, which I've made up, and they're there grieving, and they're both grieving differently, very differently. But once they've been there a few days, maybe a week, Jess starts having these terrible dreams, and she's dreaming about drowning, and it's as though she was the actual person drowning. And it turns out they've got a ghost in the house, and this ghost is trying to find out what has happened to her husband. And the story then follows the whole idea of how Jess can find out what happened when the person that's telling her all these things was alive 103 years ago. So the mystery sort of unravels as you go through the book. And the other thing is this relationship between Danny and Jess. They're both grieving in very different ways. And so it's how they come together. My dad died a week before my 19th birthday, which was, as you can see, a long while ago. But that helped me remembering those emotions and how my mum and I both grieved, but in different ways, and how you come to terms with those things. That was partly what I also wanted to get in there when I was writing it. What I love about writing is the fact that I can write about whatever I want. And I love that thing of being able to make up the characters, their dialogue. I really like writing their dialogue. I like writing about places, but I like creating my own places. Not all the time, but sometimes. And the other thing that really fascinates me is that once you've written your story and it's out there and the readers get hold of it, then it takes a life of its own. They perhaps don't like a character, or they really love a character, or, as happened with my last novel, somebody actually texted me, they were on a train and they went, "You've killed so-and-so, how could you do that?" So I just love the fact that it becomes somebody else's as well. So not only have you written it, but then it gets out there and takes on a world and a life of its own. So yeah, I love it. If you're going to write a book, then believe in what you're writing. It's your ideas, it's out of your head, so get behind it 100%. Don't let anybody else tell you it's not right or it's not going to work. If you think it's going to work, write it, but keep writing. So once you've started that first draft, don't keep going back and going, oh, I just need to change that bit, I'm not sure about that. If there's things that crop up, make notes, but keep writing so that by the end of it, you've got a first draft, the story down on paper. Then you can go back and you can recheck stuff, you can rewrite bits, put bits right, but get it finished first. My books are on Amazon. They're both paperback and Kindle. But if you're in the UK, you can buy it from my website, and that is www.lismcdermottauthor.co.uk. And Liz is spelt with an S. Thanks, Mum. And thank you for listening.